I'm pretty sure you have seen OpenAI Sora's demo as well. Pika Labs, incredible platforms, right? And anytime you see some LinkedIn post about these tools, they have this common misconception that this will replace the stock footage industry. This will completely change the way video editing works. The truth is, nobody really knows what's going to happen. And if you think about it closely, when you have algorithms that allow you to put a static image, put life to it, you always wonder, what will this do to the content creation industry? Because I can take your static image, add movement to it, change the outfits, and do whatever I want. In fact, there's a TikTok page called Unlock Learning, where this guy is literally using Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift to teach math. And it's doing really, really well. Interesting ways how people can use AI to get attention. In fact, NBA has launched NBA AI. They had so much training data of basketball games that they ended up creating Spider-Man looking videos out of their match footages. The question is this all about just making fancy videos? Not at all. The game is much bigger than that. Because if you were to scroll down to the bottom of Sora's landing page, you'd read this very tiny paragraph that says, Sora serves as a foundation for models that can understand and simulate the real world, a capability we believe will be an important milestone for achieving AGI. Now, just to bring everyone on the same page, AGI is nothing but a form of artificial intelligence that is closest to human-like intelligence. And when I say the word intelligence, it is just our ability to learn from our own experiences. So the day we achieve AGI, we'll essentially have AI that can learn from experiences. So is this entire game about selling $20 apps? No, the game is much bigger than that. Because all of this is actually leading us to achieve AGI. That is the bigger picture. But very few people are actually looking at it in this way. The agenda for today is split into 3 modules. In module 1, we'll have some important mindset shifts that I see very few designers talk about. Module number 2, I will share you some trade secrets that I have been using in India. So I live in India, I've come from India, and I consult businesses, I teach on YouTube. And these use cases are not those fluffy, useless use cases that you see on Twitter. These are the real use cases. And at the very end, roadmaps and next steps. So let's start with module number 1. What are these important mindsets that most people are missing? Firstly, people believe, especially founders and non-designers, that AI is going to be a cheap replacement. Absolutely not true. It's probably like an intern who's a little drunk. And that is the assumption that you keep when you use these tools. You have to be very careful about what they give you. I love this quote. This guy says, I don't fear artificial intelligence, I fear natural stupidity. And I love this quote because anytime I do these demos, I feel people get unnecessarily excited without being real about it. Now, your day-to-day work is split into 2 categories. You do a lot of execution and then you have a lot of ideation. Correct? It's literally either in A or B. For a very long time, people were paid just for execution, which means that if you were great at a specific tool, you were getting paid pretty well just for being able to learn how to use a software. Moving forward, the value of execution is going to go down, which means that for all of us who were trying to sell execution-based services, will be eventually forced to become better ideators. Ideation's value has always been valuable from day one, but now the value of execution is going down. Now, if I had to very easily summarize how human beings use AI tools, I can put this in this oversimplified flowchart. On the very top, you have a human being who thinks about the problem. AI doesn't know the problems that we face on a day-to-day basis. It's a human being who recognizes the problem statement. Human prompts AI. And when I say the word prompt, it's just a fancy way of saying that you are giving context and setting constraints. That is literally what prompting is. You literally set context of what you want and you add constraints to make sure you get the right results. When you give the prompt, AI gives you a result, and by default, that result is not good enough. So as a professional, you are responsible to validate what AI gives you and then build on top of that. But just building on top of what AI gives you is not enough. So at the very end, it is the human who delivers. Now, what do I mean by delivers? Just your ability to bring people together. Just your ability to tell a good story, to influence stakeholders. And this is how it goes in an iterative mode. So you would come to the last step. Again, go to the top because you can never expect AI to give you a great result in the first iteration. So it's always after the second or third iteration that you get something useful. I absolutely love this campaign by Fiverr. It said, AI took my job to the next level. Very interesting take. If you look at the top right corner, you'd realize that they say, Luigi, freelance AI video maker, freelance AI artist. They're trying to make this entire new narrative around AI helping artists and not AI replacing artists. And humans are hooked while machines are learning. It's crazy how your Instagram knows more about you than your partner. And it's high time that we unhook ourselves and get back to learning what really matters. I saw this very insane tweet as well. It said, if you're not working multiple jobs with ChatGPT or leaving money on the table, extremely toxic. But this signals to something very interesting. That moving forward, one person would be able to do a lot of things at the same time. You will be able to deliver high quality of work in lesser amount of time. Or you will be able to deliver high quality work to more number of people in the same amount of time. So of course, this is a spoof, but this signals to something extremely important. Now, we have 3 modules today, and in every module, we have 3 important takeaways. So right now, we just unlocked the first important takeaway from module 1, which is that artists are going to be the biggest customers of AI. They're not going to be replaced by AI. We're going to be the ones buying the subscriptions before anybody else in the game does. Sam Altman said that there soon will be a $1 billion company run by just one person. This is very similar to the signal that we got in the tweet, because that is only possible when one person is able to wear multiple hats. And it's going to be easier and easier because of these generic tools out in the market. How many of you know about this word arbitrage? Can you raise your hands? Is there anyone who knows arbitrage? So very few people, right? Arbitrage is our ability to sell something in a different market and earn on the margins, simply because that market is unaware. The thing about arbitrage is that it is only available for a limited time frame, which means that you can make money because of arbitrage only for 3 months, 4 months. So there's a limited window where you can squeeze in as much money as you want, because after the 4th month, everyone will be on the same page. So you lose the arbitrage. Now, you cannot expect to learn some AI tools and expect to earn high forever, because the market is changing every single quarter. So the second takeaway for today is that there is a limited window for making money, and it shrinks as time passes by. So if you're learning Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion, Pika Labs, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be making money for the rest of my life, no. There's an arbitrage window, and you have to act fast. That's why Sam Altman says, you should probably be the world's fastest iterative company on the move. Because at this point, it's not about tech stacks or talent. It's about how quickly can you move, how quickly can you unlearn and learn new things and stay updated. A lot of people talk about what AI can do. Anytime I do these sessions, I always talk about what AI cannot do. Because if we truly identify what AI cannot do, that is where we have leverage as human beings. But very few people talk about that. Let me give you a quick example. In the UX world, we have a lot of LinkedIn influencers, and I am guilty of it. I am also a person who talks about UX on LinkedIn. The thing about LinkedIn is that nothing useful ever gets attention. It's always the fluffy stuff. And you would see this LinkedIn post saying, I use ChatGPT to come up with user personas and information architecture. What a terrible use case. User personas are literally the most human thing about the entire design process. However, you can always use ChatGPT to find gaps in your questionnaires. Ask ChatGPT, this is the product that I'm making, this is the target audience, can you tell me what I should ask them? And then use ChatGPT to find gaps in your thought processes and not outsource the entire user personas. A lot of people say, why don't you write an article, put it inside ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to build on top of it? Terrible advice. You should never use ChatGPT to refine your final draft. You always use it for the first draft. You get the key points and then you build on top of it, because the final output should be as close to your human intelligence as you can. Because if the final draft is written by AI, very soon all of these platforms, by the way, they will detect AI output. It's not rocket science for them. These are the guys who are making AI outputs. So if you feel that you can scale well by writing AI written tweets or AI written LinkedIn posts, you're walking on thin ice. So you need to flip the way you use AI. Use it for the first draft and not the last. With that, we unlock the third takeaway from Module 1, that it's equally important to know what AI cannot do for the next 1 quarter. Because nobody knows what will happen after the third month. So you can only predict your next 3 steps and not the next 10 steps. Before I move to module 2, let's quickly revise what I taught you in module number 1. Number 1, artists are going to be the biggest customers of AI. They're not going to be replaced. Number 2, stay updated because your arbitrage window is shrinking with every week passing. So you need to make sure that you're making amount of money in that limited window. Don't stay relaxed for a very long time. And at the very end, don't over-obsess about what AI can do. Also understand what AI cannot do and double down on those things, because that is the leverage that you will have for a long time. Now, none of these takeaways are helpful unless you have a call to action to follow once you go back home. So your call to action from module 1 is that ask yourself, list the areas at work where you're ideating versus executing, and then rate yourself. Am I a great ideator or am I a great executor? And if you're a great executor, think again, because you'd have to figure out, how do I become a better ideator? But if you feel that, yes, I am a great ideator, you're heading in the right direction. So let's start with module 2 because I'm done with all the boring theory. Let's actually come down to real use cases and real practical tools that can help you get things done. It's very interesting how robots are making art and humans are stuck in offices doing 9-to-5 jobs. When all of this started, we thought that amazing, bro, like this is crazy. Like robots are going to be doing all the tedious jobs and human beings are going to be making art. Very unfortunate how the tables have turned, and it's high time that we flip it again and get leverage back on our side. So there are 3 use cases that I will share with you. Number 1, how you break down inspiration and make sense of inspiration. This could be for graphic designers, marketing designers, UI designers. Use case number 2, getting visual design feedback on what you have created, which is extremely helpful for students who do not have access to expensive mentors or expensive teachers. I am a self-taught designer, so it was extremely difficult for me to get feedback. But now with something like this, amazing level of feedback is now democratized universally. And at the very end, this is great for YouTubers and content creators who have been using Midjourney to create B-roll. Incredible use case. I'll get to it super soon. Let's start with use case number 1, breaking down inspiration. As a product designer, I spend a lot of time looking at screens. And I have a friend, he's built this company called Mobin. Brilliant place to get UI screenshots. But it's very difficult to look at all of these screenshots and analyze and find patterns. Now, before I show you how I prompt ChatGPT, I'm going to share a very valuable secret of mine. It's a 4-part checklist. And if you use this 4-part checklist for any of your prompts, I can guarantee that your ChatGPT outputs are going to be 10 times better than anybody else in the game. And this is how the checklist looks like. And this has been floating on LinkedIn for a while, so it's not new for a lot of people. Step number 1, you assign a relevant role. And I will show you how this works in just 10 seconds. Step number 2, you set the context and you define the task. Step number 3, you add constraints. And step number 4, you set expectations. What a useless checklist, Ansh. How does this even work? Let me show you how it works. This is the prompt. Act as a senior UI designer who specializes in iOS mobile onboarding experiences. Notice how specific I am about the platform and the flow I am designing today. I'll feed you 3 screenshots. Each screenshot shows the onboarding flow for an iOS app. I am designing a new onboarding flow for an app that helps college students find flatmates. I need you to study all the 3 apps I show you. Then, you need to list out all common UI patterns they have, list out all the differences they have, point out 2 good things and bad things each has done in their UI design. Keep your answers short and to the point and speak from the lens of a UX designer. Give all answers in well-formatted headings and bullet points. Now let me break down this prompt for you. How can you make similar prompts at home? This was the checklist that I was following. Number 1, assigning a role. I said UI designer, iOS onboarding experiences. Step number 2, setting the context. Why am I here? What do I need from you? Be as specific as you can. Set the constraints. I want common UI patterns. Tell me 2 things that are good, 2 things that are bad, right? You have to lay down the guidelines. It's almost like an intern who's a little drunk, right? So you have to be as specific as you can be. And always set expectations, because by default, the way ChatGPT speaks is terrible. Unnecessary paragraphs, unnecessary apologies for not being able to think like a human being. We don't want any of that. Literally tell ChatGPT, stick to the point, give me answers in well-formatted headings. As soon as you do that, put in the screenshots, copy-paste the prompt, Boom, you have common UI patterns, you have everything good and bad from each and every competitor, you have all of these crazy things within 10 seconds. With that, we unlock the first takeaway from module number 2, that AI is super good at finding patterns. Yet very few people are leveraging this strength in a smart way. They're only using it for text generation. They're barely using this as a mentor. Now, how do you get something checked from ChatGPT? If it's a poster or a carousel or even your logo, how do you get visual design feedback? The first principles remain the same. So we can just tweak the prompt just by a bit. This time it's for a LinkedIn carousel. So I will say act as a marketing designer specializing in LinkedIn carousel designs for social media. I have a meetup coming up. I want you to critique my promotional carousel. It has 4 slides. You need to scan the screenshot and give me feedback on visual design, copy, and colors. If there's anyone here in the field of marketing design, they would know that these 3 components are the most important components of your visuals. It's design, it's copy, and the colors. The goal here is to get them to register. I need you to only tell me areas where I can improve. This is important because by default, ChatGPT would unnecessarily start pointing the obvious, and that is not useful to you. Tell me where I can improve, followed by a CTA to fix that. I'm a big believer of CTAs. I feel like very few people ask for CTAs. Without CTA, any output that you get from ChatGPT is useless to you. I also say that I need you to give me 3 more concrete, distinct, and powerful ideas that will make this carousel more effective. In the end, give me a caption, but it's terrible at giving captions. I hate the captions generated by ChatGPT. I always use Gemini for that because a lot of people are saying it's been trained on Google Ads data. Not sure how true is that, but yeah, just a quick tip. Very straightforward. I would paste the prompt and then within 10 seconds, I would get amazing feedback on my visual design, on my copy. But you have to make sure that you go back to the flowchart because folks, all of these things are great and exciting. But in the end, it is your responsibility to validate whatever AI gives you and then build on top of that. Because by default, in the first output, you will never get things that are extremely groundbreaking. It usually points out the obvious, which is not very useful to someone who's been in the game for more than a decade. That unlocks our second takeaway, that instead of over-indexing on prompting skills, over-indexing on executionary skills, eventually all of us will be paid for our ability to set context, to add constraints, and then simply validating AI outputs. If you crack these 3 things, your ability to write clearly, and when I say write clearly, writing the right context, adding constraints, and your ability to validate AI output, you will be sorted. But very few people are talking about these exact skill sets. I am a YouTuber, I have a podcast, and in a lot of cases, I don't find the right stock videos, the right stock images. At this point, I've been combining a couple of tools to come up with really good-looking B-rolls. So I had Neerayal, the author of Hooked, on the show, and he was talking about Plato and athletes. And I ended up going to Midjourney. I generated an image of Plato, went inside Photoshop. Photoshop has this new feature called Select Subject, and you can also delete the subject using GenAI. So I isolated Plato, exported that as a PNG, had the background as a separate layer, went inside After Effects, which is a video editing tool, and I added a parallax effect between the subject and the background. This kind of creative freedom was never accessible before. It is absolutely groundbreaking for a YouTuber or even an Instagrammer to get this level of freedom as a creator. And it's crazy, or this is the latest worst AI will ever be. If you think about it, it only goes up from here. So instead of talking about, oh, can I become a Midjourney expert? Can I become an After Effects expert? All of us need to figure out how do we find overlaps between tools? Because that gives you the maximum leverage. Being able to use multiple tools in tandem, that is where you find intersections that are unavailable to the rest of the creative people. Unfortunately, very few people are exploring this intersection. A lot of people make the use of AI so obvious. I have been practicing how to use AI in a way where it's almost invisible. And that is the real art. If people can easily spot that this is an AI-generated image, what's the point? If people can quickly read your PRDs and LinkedIn posts and figure out this is written by ChatGPT, what is the point? The real art is using it in ways where nobody can spot it. Let me give you a quick practical example. This is me on Instagram. I had a paid reel with this brand called BenQ. They sell monitors. And we had a script where the first scene of the script was me talking to a very fancy American freelance client. And the American client says, Ansh, have you received the payment? And then I get a notification from PayPal. Now, the thing is, they didn't want me to show PayPal's logo in the first frame itself because they said, what if people think this reel was sponsored by PayPal? PayPal is not sponsoring this reel, Ansh, so you can't use PayPal's logo. So I needed a new logo, and all I did was go to ChatGPT and say, give me a logo of a fake PayPal. And it gave me within 10 seconds, and it is so genius. Like, this is not PayPal, but it sort of reminds me of PayPal. The voiceover was generated by 11 Labs, so I think that is very straightforward. But nobody could know that Ansh has used AI for the voiceover or for the notification. Anytime I'm posting on LinkedIn, I never write any text post without an image. How many of you here are trying to build a personal brand on LinkedIn? Is there anyone? Folks, you have to do that. Like, why is nobody interested in that? That is the easiest thing to do in today's time, to build a personal brand and have leverage. But yeah, this is not a personal branding class, so we'll do that sometime else. But if on LinkedIn, if you complement a text post with an image, the reach doubles. If you put a URL in your LinkedIn post, the reach is cut by 50%. That is why a lot of people say, go to the first comment for the link. So the link is always in the first comment that they pin. If you put up a URL in your LinkedIn post, LinkedIn renames it as link.in/blah, blah, blah. Why? Because LinkedIn doesn't want people to escape LinkedIn. Because people use LinkedIn on their desktops, and if they have a link accessible, they would just get distracted. So yeah, what I now do is anytime I have a LinkedIn post, I would go to ChatGPT, get a quick image and just put it in the text post. And I would easily get up to 15 to 16,000 impressions in just a week. I used to get 5,000 impressions if it was just text. But this is such an easy hack, yet very few people are leveraging it. I make a lot of YouTube videos where I share advice, but the thing is, I make really long YouTube videos. Now, when it comes to YouTube, people love frameworks. There's something about the word framework that gets you a lot of attention. I am using ChatGPT to literally get frameworks out of my own thoughts. So I would go to ChatGPT and say, I am making a YouTube video on how to plan your 2024. I have 5 things. These are the 5 things. Give me 5 suggestions for putting all of these steps in an acronym framework. And choose simple words only. And it ended up giving me audit, assessing, understanding, deciding, implementing, and tracking. And people in the comment section are going crazy. Oh, the audit framework is so helpful. How did Ansh come up with this framework? This is going to change my life. And nobody would ever guess that I use ChatGPT for this. This is how you use AI smartly. By combining your innate intelligence and using AI to take it to the next level. And not become lazy and replace your intelligence with this artificial intelligence. That is not how this game was supposed to run. So, last takeaway from module 2. Use AI in ways where it's almost impossible to catch. Please don't make it obvious. This is the real art that we need to talk about. We're almost at the very end. Quick revision from what we learned in module number 2. Number 1, AI is supremely good at finding patterns across subjects. Please leverage that strength. Lesson number 2, you need to learn the art of adding context, setting constraints, and then validating AI work. At the very end, figure out how you can use AI in ways where it's almost unrecognizable. Your call to action would be that once you go back home, just use ChatGPT to get visual design feedback. Use it for anything, but at least try it once. Brainstorm with AI on any topic that you're working on. Don't ask for suggestions. Simply say, become my mentor, let's brainstorm with me. And whatever you learn from this session, go home, document it, put it on LinkedIn, and just try once. Just use ChatGPT for an image. Put that image on the LinkedIn post. Tell me if it gave you double the reach or not. And it will. Almost at the very end, Ansh, you've given us too much data. Now, what do we do next? What is the next step? So, first of all, never blindly follow what I say or what anybody else says. You have to pick and choose what works for you, because each and every one of us are working in different companies, different cultures, different priorities. So before I tell you the next steps, please be mindful. Never blindly accept and follow anyone in this world. Buddha, what makes us human? Selecting all images with traffic lights. Right? And it's very interesting because not sure if you know how CAPTCHA works, but when we do the CAPTCHA, it's actually being used to train AI. Like it was all meant to train AI, and it's crazy how the flywheel is now turning against us. The most important tool tip that I would give is that please don't focus on being a specialist on a tool, because the market is shifting. We're shifting from being specialists to generalists. That is why 5 years ago, a specialist tool like Photoshop would do very well. But now Adobe has launched Adobe Express, which is literally a web app that has all the top features from all of their tools that they had developed before. And it is serving generalists. Startups are hiring generalists like crazy. So the market is shifting from hiring people that have 10 years of experience to generalists who can bring outcomes. So we're shifting from experience-driven to outcome-driven. So you need to make sure that you're exploring combinations of tools and you become more outcome-driven. These are some combinations that I've been using. I know that we have very limited time, so I don't want to get deep into it. But I would recommend you folks to just go on YouTube and just literally copy-paste this. Because I've been using Figma, Midjourney, and ChatGPT in tandem. Midjourney and Magnific AI, terrific combination. In fact, we have a very talented artist here in the audience. Her name is Claire. And Claire, are you there? Oh yeah, she's there. So Claire is using Midjourney and Magnific in a very tremendous way. Would totally recommend you to check it out. And yes, folks, it's not just about executing on a specific tool. You will get paid for your ability to put things together. With so many AI tools floating in the market, specialized for each and every niche use case, your biggest strength is to be number one, be aware of these tools, and number two, being able to stitch together everything that is available in the market. Should you focus on experience and software skills? No. I think we all need to be all about delivering outcomes. The market is now shifting to become very, very outcome driven. So yes, folks, that's my YouTube channel. I have shared very superficial knowledge today, to be honest. But on my YouTube channel, I regularly upload tutorials that are highly in-depth, highly no fluff, only stuff matter. So you'll find a dedicated playlist on ChatGPT, Midjourney, and a lot of masterclasses. That's my Instagram. If you liked any interesting thing, hope you put up a story, tag me, tag Jackson, tag the AI user group. We would love to repost and get your feedback on that. I'm always available on Instagram for quick DMs. That's not AI replying, that's me. I don't have any automations running on that. I am a designer and I'm extremely bullish about spatial design. If any of you are interested in the world of spatial design, I have already started teaching it on YouTube. I personally feel that people over-index on mobile phones and tablets and laptops. I think the next wave is going to be for AR and VR. With that being said, this is the sheet that has all the takeaways in one single slide. In case you want to do like a quick revision, this always helps to have everything in one single place. So I'll let that be on the screen for 2 seconds because it's very important to just quickly revise what we learned. And these are all the call to actions in one single place. If you implement even one of these 6 call to actions, I'm telling you the ROI is going to be 10 times better than any one. I hope that you take care of your mind and body. This is Ansh Mehra signing out. Thank you.